education, inspiration, SaharaTV.
Let me die.
I am from SaharaTV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Information, education, inspiration, SaharaTV.
Hi viewers, welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Adiola Fayon. This is our highlight segment, and right now we want to talk about the situation of the Nigerian roads. And to talk to us about this is the spokesperson of the Federal Road Safety Corps of Nigeria, Mr. Jonas Agwu. Jonas, welcome to Sahara TV.
Oh, thank you very much. Compliment of the new year.
The same to you. So let's start out by asking a question that many people have been wondering about. The president recently made a statement that most of the road accidents in Nigeria happen on the good roads, not the bad roads. Are you aware of this statement, and do you agree with this or not?
Well, that statement, I believe strongly, was made in reference to the improved state of the roads and the incident of road crashes that were caused not as a result of bad roads like it's been the case before, but as a result of bad use of the roads.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Do the accidents happen on good roads or bad roads?
Well, let me put it this way: if whatever statement that is credited to Mr. President, I want to make some clarifications with respect to what I know obtained here in Nigeria. Let me take a good example to explain my point of view. Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, is the one place in Nigeria where, if you want to talk about the state of the road, the state of infrastructure, you could say yes. It ranks as topmost, in the whole country. But you'll be shocked to know that in the last couple of months, or just last year, 2012, road crashes in terms of fatalities were, high in Abuja compared to states where the road situations are not even as good as what they have in Abuja. So when you hear comments like, the crashes happened on good roads, it's just simply because, like we say in Nigeria, that the crashes in Nigeria don't happen because the roads are bad or good. They happen because of the bad usage of those roads. I
see. I understand what you're trying to say, but at the same time, a lot of people think that it's a shallow way of explaining road accidents, saying that most of them, maybe it's the word most, maybe it's the word most that he used, saying that most of the road accidents in Nigeria happen on good roads, because technically that means maybe we would do well with bad roads. I mean, maybe we would do well if all the roads are bad. Maybe there won't be accidents.
Well, I am not a spokesperson for
the president.
I'm the spokesperson for the Federal Road Safety Corps. And I believe that as the president of Nigeria, he wasn't saying that he would rather have Nigerians have bad roads. I don't think that's what he was saying. I believe that his concern and the concern of every other person is for the average Nigerian road user to change the way the roads are used. I think that's the bottom line. Whether the roads are good or they are bad, what is very predominant and what is very instructive is that whoever wants to use that road must be conscious of the rules of engagement, the relevant traffic laws, and the fact that, look, crashes can happen on both good and bad roads. So let's not read Mr. President out of context. But like I said, I am not trying to explain what he said, but I know what obtains in Nigeria. Our concern in Nigeria, like every other part of the world, is what I would call attitude of people on the road.
So recently the UN declared 2011 to 2020 as the decade of actions for road safety in a global effort to stop the rising trend of traffic crashing. And I know that the road safety corps in Nigeria have been working in this aspect. Do you mind sharing some of the things that you've been doing in order to ensure that there are less road accidents in Nigeria?
Yeah. I couldn't get that question well because
okay.
I was asking along the line, yeah.
I was asking if you can share with us some of the measures that you are putting in place to ensure less road accidents in Nigeria, according to the UN declaration of 2011 to 2020 as the decade of action for road safety in a global effort to stop road accidents.
Yes.
So do you mind?
Sorry.
Okay,
the network is not helping matters for me.
I was asking if you can
your
share
statement on the decade of action on road safety.
Yes.
What is the follow-up question on that?
Okay, my question is, I'm sure that the road safety corps in Nigeria have been working towards this, towards making sure we have less road accidents in Nigeria. Do you mind sharing some of the things that you are putting in place, some of the steps that you are taking to reduce road accidents in Nigeria?
All right, let me. With respect to the issue, the decade of action that, of course, Nigeria has been, at the forefront of activities. I'll tell you, quite a lot of things have been done. Apart from the fact that there was a formal launch of, in line with the goals of the UN, we had rolled out a lot of other strategies, and I'll tell you, of course, in keeping with the projection of the UN, which is to ensure that even if road crashes were to increase, we must ensure that fatalities come down. And I'll tell you that for 2012, looking at what the figure was for, let me use the figure for January of the first half of 2012, I'll tell you that based on the available data, that the Federal Road Safety Corps had, it simply just showed that we were, of course, working towards that same direction. And there was reduction in fatalities, based on those same projections and some of the activities that we had put in place. Now, besides the formal launch of the decade, I'll tell you one of the things we did was, of course, to tie in with the various pillars that the UN, has spelled out. The pillar 5, which talks about the post-crash, I'll tell you to assist FRSC to improve on our response time, in the event of road crashes. We have to come up with what we call our Zebra project, which are special ambulance services. We have to come up with, for the very first time in 24, 25 years of FRSC as the lead agency in Nigeria, government was able to assist FRSC to come up with a 3-digit toll-free emergency number, the 122 emergency number, which of course complemented what we had already, the 0700 call FRSC. We had that number before, but we knew that there were 1 or 2 hiccups with that number, and so we had to step up efforts to ensure that we had a 3-digit toll-free number to assist and improve on our response time, in the event of road crashes. And then we went further beside that to ensure that, of course, besides improving on our ambulance services, the issue of capacity training for our personnel, including even relevant agencies of government that had 1 or 2 business to do with FRSC. And then we also had to step up on our enforcement. We realized that, look, yes, it was good for us to improve on our response time in the event of crashes. We needed to step up in the areas of advocacy to raise awareness, having identified the issue of attitude as one very big problem that we had. And then, of course, the other area was in the area of ensuring that we had roads, that our road networks or our infrastructure, were forgiven, like the UN started that. And so in our collaboration with relevant government agencies like the Ministry of Works and East Pastoral, the result was what we had the tail end of last year, where the road situation, had improved from what they were before, giving us one bigger challenge. And that is the challenge of the increasing incidence of, excessive speeding or inappropriate speeding, which of course even forms, our focus, one of our major focus for 2013.
I see. And also, I've heard that you're planning on being involved in the construction of roads to ensure more safety. How exactly are you planning on being involved in how the roads are constructed?
I didn't get you. The network didn't allow me to get you well.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm saying that there's also words on the street that you're planning on getting involved in the road constructions so that the roads can be constructed in a way that would be safe. How exactly are you planning on being involved in the road constructions?
Well, when we talk about the issue of road construction, first, let me make some explanation here. You realize that, of course, FRSC, in line with the relevant laws of FRSC, which is the Federal Road Safety Corps, we've been working in collaboration with relevant government agencies and the Ministry of Works and FEMA, that is the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency. These are strong partners with the Federal Road Safety Corps. And the Federal Road Safety Corps, because of the need for us to ensure that our inputs, are incorporated in the cost of either constructing fresh roads or whatever, of course, we sit on that board. So when we say get involved in construction, we don't mean that we won't carry out the construction, but we mean that in the course of doing what we do, whether when we do our road audit and all the stuff and we forward this report to them, we want to be sure that we are there with them, looking at the fact that the relevant safety components of these roads are not missing in the cost of construction.
I see. Thank you for that clarification. Also, I realize that you've been making use of social media lately to communicate with Nigerians and update them about different roads. How has that been working for you?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Has the social media been effective in communicating with Nigerians about the state of roads? Because you've been making use of like Twitter, social media in general. Has it been effective?
I'll tell you that social media has been an effective tool for us in the course of trying to reach our various publics. Of course, you realize that one of the strongest strategy that we employ is that of advocacy, which explains why we have our volunteer special marshals. We even have some celebrities who are involved, all in the business of ensuring that they assist in taking this message to the various segments of the Nigerian public. So now the social media, of course, has played a very significant role here. Our Facebook page, our Twitter pages, they've assisted because the feedback we get, they help us in reappraising our strategies and coming out with either better strategies or fine-tuning what we have, based on contributions we get from followers on our social pages.
So not long ago, you had a message on your Twitter page that said that a bus plunged into the river, and then there was a message that said that it's not true. How did that affect your social media, your presence on Twitter? Did that cause any damage? And also, why did that happen? Did someone hack into your account, or what exactly happened?
Well, I'll tell you that was probably one of those. Of course, as a trained journalist, sometimes there could be a blunder somewhere. I'll tell you, there was some error by one of our operatives, and immediately we noticed that there was an error, we had to apologize to, of course, the Nigerian public and the media, because we believe strongly that over years we have built a reputation that, of course, the media believe strongly that FRSC does not get involved in propaganda. If we would send out any information, we want to be sure that it is correct. But for that very incident, I'll tell you, that was an incident we felt bad about, and immediately we had to retract that information and apologize to the Nigerian media and the public also. But after that, I'll tell you that our relationship, we have built on what we had before, and it is quite positive.
So let's talk about accident for a little bit, and let's start with trailers. We're all aware that a lot of road accidents in Nigeria, a lot of deaths were caused by trailers on the same road with smaller cars. Is there any plan to have a separate road for trailer drivers, or will it always be like this, that trailers and smaller cars will always be together on the same roads?
Well, let me say the issue of separating smaller cars from bigger cars, of course, is a function of legislation. If there's no law that says smaller cars should be separated from or demarcated or kept away from trailers, of course, you can't go enforcing what does not exist. But I'll tell you that, within the context of what obtains presently in Nigeria, we have stepped up our various strategies that are aimed at ensuring that the incidence of crashes, whether involving smaller vehicles or bigger vehicles, are brought down. Let me refer you here to what we call the Road Transport Safety Standardization Scheme. We call it the ROTSSS. And all it simply just says is, according to what the law provides in Nigeria, the National Road Traffic Regulation of 2004, is that any operator, any fleet operator that has 5 vehicles and above, must ensure that he complies with certain provisions of the law. One of it is that, of course, that company has to be certified, which means our operators from the Federal Road Safety Corps have to inspect that company, inspect their fleet, and then ensure that they get proper certification to do their business. Their drivers must be properly trained by us. The company must have its own terminal. A lot of these provisions are provided here, in line with this. Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you briefly, but can we just have an agreement, first of all, before you go on, that a lot of accidents and a lot of road deaths are caused by trailers? Is that something that you would agree with?
Well, if we use the word, yes. Accidents, trailers and tankers account for a good number of crashes. But, of course, I have to keep the figure on my table to break them down so we can say, okay, trailers accounted for this percentage and cars for this percentage. But for us, we are not focusing on trailers and tankers at the expense of the other, vehicles on the road. We look at every of these vehicles, but we have special program that is meant for trailers and tankers, because recently you realize that, like you said, we've had incidents of these vehicles being involved in such cases. And what we look at is the issue of training, the issue of enforcement, the issue of ensuring that they are certified, and the issue of ensuring also that these operators ensure that the kind of vehicles they use to operate are vehicles that meet minimum standards.
Okay, so it's not in your power to do anything about having both trailers and smaller cars on the same road, as far as it's in the hands of the legislatures. That's what you're saying?
No, the point I'm making here is the law must provide for that before you go ahead. Whether it comes from the Federal Safety Corps as an input or whatever, important thing here is that there has to be legislation before you can say, separate smaller cars from bigger vehicles.
I see. And also, you made mention of speed controls, and I know that now we have speed limits in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to know how you're monitoring this. Do you have the electronic speed monitors? How do you tell when someone speeds by and they're over the speed limit? How do you tell?
Sorry, I didn't get you there.
I'm asking about the equipment now. Do you have the equipment that monitors people's speed? The speed traps,
Of
do
course,
you have it?
Yes, our patrol vehicles are mounted with radar guns, and if you had monitored what happened recently, you recall that the Federal Road Safety Corps had programs, that are meant, to improve on our highways, and of course, we're able to get the buy-in of the World Bank in improving, road safety in Nigeria. And just last year, 2012, the World Bank initiative, resulted in the donation of 17 patrol vehicles with the state-of-art devices and operational equipment, to ensure that we improve on this. And this operational equipment, of course, are installed with cameras and speed monitoring devices also.
And also I wanted to talk about, we're still on road accidents, by the way. I wanted to talk about having all the right equipment. Would you say that the Federal Road Safety Corps have enough equipment? Because before we started this interview, we played a video and we showed some accidents that happened at December last year. And there were some trailers that it was hard to pull them out of the ditch where they had fallen into. Is this a challenge for the road safety? Do you have the adequate equipment, or is this a challenge?
Well, let me state here that the Federal Road Safety Corps, which is a Nigerian agency, of course, remember that Nigeria is not the UK, Nigeria is not America, Nigeria is not Canada. Nigeria is a developing country, and as such, you expect one or two challenges in terms of logistics. Yes, we need more logistics to enhance our efficiency in terms of having more ambulances, having more heavy towing vehicles, having more power bikes for enforcement and patrol vehicles. Of course, we need more tools, because remember that our job demand expands every year. As there is an increased motorization in Nigeria, of course, it means that FRSC must double its own effort. And for us to double that effort, we need more support in terms of logistics.
Okay, so are there plans to arm the Nigerian road safety?
No, come again?
Are there plans to arm the Nigerian road safety?
Well, I can't speak about the issue of arming. That's the policy matter. But for now, we are doing our job, without any arms. And so far, I'll tell you that looking at what happened last year, 2012, especially after the end-of-year patrol in December, the kind of comments we got from the motoring public, from the ruling party, from other Nigerians, simply just showed that they appreciated our efforts and that they trust that we will do more to ensure that lives are saved on Nigerian roads.
I just wanted to ask briefly about corruption among the road safety corps members, because sometimes when a driver overspeeds and some road safety people stop them, there are some road safety members that would actually let them go if they can just settle them. How do you deal with corruption in your own organization?
No, I didn't get the first part of your question.
I was asking, how do you deal with corruption in your own organization, inside the Road Safety Corps?
All right. Within the Federal Road Safety Corps, I'll tell you that what we call compromise, what we call corruption is what we call compromise. Compromise can be explained in different segments. But to answer your question, if any staff of the Federal Road Safety Corps is found to have compromised in any measure, whether in terms of how he carries his job or whatever, I think we have laid down rules, because we have what we call our monitoring teams, we have our surveillance teams, and their assignment is to ensure that any personnel who operates outside the operational guidelines set up by the Federal Road Safety Corps to do its own job is, of course, brought to book, and where that staff is found guilty, that staff gets punished, depending on the penalties or the actions that are spelled out in operational guidelines. So whether it has to do with laxity, or it has to do with people being rude, or it has to do with doing anything that would tarnish the image of the Federal Road Safety Corps, I tell you that such behaviors are not tolerated by the Federal Road Safety Corps management, and anybody found wanting, of course, gets punished. In some cases, if the attitude of the person is one that really, really affects the reputation so much that person might be sacked or something more serious done to that staff.
So, Mr. Jonas, the year is still very young. What can Nigerians expect to see this year as far as our roads are concerned and as far as road safety is concerned? What are some of the things that we should look forward to this year? Some of your plans for Nigerians?
Well, let me tell you the things that Nigerians will expect from the Road Safety Corps. Looking at what happened in 2012, looking at the trend of events by the end of 2012, one thing that remains constant is the incidence of speed and speed-related crashes. And so that is one area of our focus. Last year, we had a stakeholders meeting on the need for speed-limiting devices to be installed in vehicles. We are still doing an advocacy on this, but I'll tell you that one of our major focus for 2013 is going to be on how to ensure that we bring the speed-related incidents down so that we can achieve the goals we have set up for ourselves for this year. Of course, the second is, of course, remember that by the 30th of September, the number plate, the old number plate, the new, and then the old driver's license will cease from being valid. And so, of course, you expect that we're going to do a lot of advocacy, awareness campaigns to make people understand the need for us to ensure that people comply with the laws before the enforcement starts. And then you recall that, of course, in Nigeria, last year, till end of last year, we had formally launched the commercial driver's license. Just like when you asked about the issue of tankers and trailers, we realized that, look, people were just graduating from driving private cars into becoming commercial drivers. And so we have to come up with what we call very stringent rules and procedures for becoming a commercial driver. As I speak to you now, you cannot become a commercial driver until you go through certain medical tests, being run by government hospitals, and these are to ensure that only people who are qualified, who are mentally and physically fit to drive commercial vehicles, are seen behind the wheel. So these are some of the things, some of our areas of concern. But I'll tell you that, while I can sit here and reel out the programs we are lining up, together, including the ones to ensure that tankers and trailers operate on Nigerian roads within the confines of what the law says, I tell you that one very fundamental factor that would go a long way in examining how we succeed in what we intend to do for 2013 has to do with the buy-in of the Nigerian public. It is very instructive that we let people understand that road crashes, they are caused, and that we must all learn to drive within the provisions of the Nigerian law, to know that the roads are supposed to be used within the confines of what we'll call responsible driving, so that even if there are going to be crashes, let's be sure that we can bring down the death rate, within the Nigerian roads.
All right. Mr. Jonas Agwu, thank you very much for coming on our show today on Sahara TV. We appreciate your time. Hello?
Hello. Yeah.
I said thank you for coming on Sahara TV.
Thank you very much, even though I had to be straining my ear to hear what you were saying, but thank you for this opportunity. All
right. So, viewers, that has been Jonas Agwu. He's the spokesperson of the Nigerian Road Safety Corps of the Road Safety Corps of Nigeria. And that has been our highlight segment today. We have more coming up. Stay tuned. We will talk about sports, the World Cup that is going on, and we have our regulars, Dr. Damages, as well as Keeping It Real. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.